channel. Today is Foundation Friday, and if you guys are new to my channel, this is when I upload a review of a new foundation every single Friday here on my channel. I'm excited about this one because this one, hands down, you guys, has been the most requested foundation in the history of my channel. I've been doing YouTube for a little over a year now, and I've had so many people ask me, will you review the Tom Ford Stick Foundation? I don't want to spend $87 for it, and so I just kept kind of pushing it to the side and pushing it to the side, and then I finally thought, okay, well, I'll go ahead and buy it, see what the hype's all about, because I've had several people tell me that this is like their holy grail. I thought that this was the most expensive foundation I've ever bought. One that was, I thought, to be the most expensive one was the Dior Air Flash, which I believe is $62. And I only use the Dior Air Flash on special occasions because she's so expensive. Little did I know, as I start using my little handy dandy calculator, the Hourglass foundation is actually more money than the Tom Ford. Can you believe it? This is the Tom Ford Traceless Foundation Stick, and this retails for $87 for 0.5 ounces, which is 15 grams of product. Well, I thought that this had to be the most expensive foundation I've ever bought in my entire life. The Tom Ford Stick Foundation is $5.80 per gram when you kind of calculate it up. The Hourglass Foundation is $46 for 0.25 ounces, so it's half the size of this. It's 7 grams, this is 15 grams, and this one you're actually paying $6.57 per gram. I not only have one, but I got two of these little sticks. I don't like this stick foundation on its own. The only time I like this foundation is when I want to use it as a coverage builder, so I don't like it all over my face alone. It is not good on my skin, but I like this foundation when I want to build up some coverage, when I'm using a really good foundation that I absolutely love, but maybe doesn't have the coverage that I need. So I'll use these to kind of build up the coverage. So little did I know, I already had the most expensive foundation in my collection. I just didn't know it. Now that we have all of that out of the way, let's get back to the Tom Ford foundation. There are 29 shades of this on the Sephora website. Okay, so in this video, I flubbed up, you guys. So the first shade that I ordered was shade 7.0. So I thought 7.0 was going to be the perfect shade, and it wasn't. 7.0 was a little bit too light for me. I actually have footage of me applying it. So I went ahead and bought 7.7 Honey, and this is a perfect shade. This shade like melts into my skin. But what I should have done, I shipped the other one back to Sephora, but I should have kept it and hurry and done some swatches so you guys could see the differences between 7 and 7.7, and I'm so sorry I did not do that. I didn't actually think about it until this morning when I was applying this. I was like, why didn't I not swatch that while I had it here? I just apologize, you guys. I will leave a full list of foundations that I wear and what shade I wear in the description box down below in case you guys want to know what, shade I am, and maybe you might be close to my shade. That is a nice reference for you guys to use. But I'm a medium with a golden undertone, and typically right now I'm self-tanned, and so the 7.0 just did not work with the self-tan. I think 7.0 would have been good. It's almost like a medium with like a neutral undertone, but I needed a little bit of that golden to match my tan. This has always had really good reviews. This has 4.4 out of 5 stars on the Sephora website, and that's out of like 102 reviews. So let me give you the description about this foundation. So it's a unique cream foundation that creates a flawless smooth finish. It's a full coverage natural finish, and it is for normal and dry skin. It does not say it's for oily or combination skin, and I completely agree with that. This portable stick achieves versatility in application for sheer, medium, or full coverage that's always beautifully natural and undetectable. When used as a concealer, it swiftly diminishes the look of imperfections, leaving a soft matte finish. I have been wearing this for several days. Typically, I like to wear my foundations for like 3 or 4 days, but I've actually had the opportunity to wear this for about 5 to 6 days, I think. So I have a lot to say about this, and we're gonna go ahead and jump straight into the application portion of the video. The first application, you're gonna see me apply the shade number 7, and it was definitely just did not melt into my skin like I needed it. This is a type of foundation that if the shade's off, it doesn't melt into the skin and you can see it. So if you live close to a department store like a Nordstrom's or something that carries Tom Ford, or a Sephora that carries Tom Ford, I highly recommend going in store and swatching this because I think you'll like this a lot better if you can find your perfect shade. Now, every single day I've worn this, I've worn it for 12 hours or longer. I typically wear my foundations for 12 hours or longer, so I've been able to give a really good wear test for you guys. So without further ado, let's jump right into the application and I will see you guys in my first check-in. Okay, so let's get applying this foundation for the first time. So I'm just going to use my Wonder Beauty sponge. I probably would have preferred it to be a little bit darker, and I think if I like the product, I might get me a new one. Now, I don't know how many stripes I should have went in with, but I mean, some people like get ticked at me because they're like, you're using way too much foundation. I'm like, I'm sorry. It's a lot lighter on the skin than it looks in here. So I don't know, it goes on quite light. The problem is right away is this is a very creamy formula and the sponge is just really soaking it up. But that blends right into the skin. I don't feel like this would be the best way to apply this, especially because you guys, it's so expensive. I don't really feel like you should apply it immediately with a sponge. I feel like when you're using a product like this, it's probably best to blend it out with a brush and then kind of smooth it over with a sponge. Let's put a few stripes on the face and then we'll go in with a brush and just see what we can get. Yeah, that's a way, way, way better way to apply this. It's really creamy though. Holy crap, it's creamy. I think this would be my perfect like winter shade, but with summer coming, I don't know that this is gonna work. Okay, so as you can see, this is how it's looking. Again, it's very natural. I am gonna set it with some powder, but this just like melts right into the skin. All right, let's turn off the ring light. So this is without the ring light, and as you can see, I think it blends, but I've got some fake tan on, and so this is definitely a little bit too light, but look how beautiful that looks. Like, you really cannot see foundation anywhere on my skin. Like, it doesn't even look like I have foundation on, which is pretty damn incredible. I'm just really, really impressed with the way this looks. So this is definitely more natural lighting. I'm sitting in front of a window. It's not direct sunlight. I have the umbrella light sitting over in the corner, but the ring light definitely makes a difference. So I want to turn it off so you guys can see what it looks like in more natural lighting. Okay, so now that I have the right shade, let's go ahead and apply this. I wanted to apply the right shade on camera. I mean, you almost can't see it, right? Just a shade darker, but that's okay because I am going to be getting out into the sun more. I really don't like this with a beauty blender. I feel like with a beauty blender, I use too much. But I've been using this like wispy brush from It Cosmetics. This is the Heavenly Luxe Complexion brush number 7. And I really love the way that this blends this foundation in. Kind of, I feel like I get the most coverage, and this product is so creamy that it just really blends out, and I just don't have any issues with this product blending. I feel like the sponge works, but for me, I feel like the sponge just doesn't quite spread it quite like this brush does. And a typical sponge, you know, I've been using this sponge, which is a super sponge, and this is like a silicone type sponge. So this one doesn't absorb the product like a traditional sponge does. If you have a traditional sponge, you're going to use a lot of this product because the sponge is going to absorb so much of it. So this is what we're looking like up close. And as you can see, it just is so skin-like. Like, this is absolutely skin like. I'm just so impressed at just how natural this foundation is, and I can see why it's called the Traceless Foundation, because that's exactly what it is. It's almost undetectable on the skin, and I'm really impressed with the way it looks and the way that it applies. So far, so good. All right, let's turn off the ring light. So this is what it's looking like in more natural lighting. I just turned off the ring light. I am sitting in front of a window. It's not direct sunlight. I do have 2 umbrella lights sitting in the corner. So I wanted you guys to see what this looks like in more natural lighting. But as you can see, it's just absolutely beautiful. Now, yes, it does look a little bit shiny on my skin. I do have like a natural glow to my skin, and I do prefer applying some sort of a powder over this. That's kind of been my preferred way of wearing this, because I have worn this 3 days now. This is my 4th day of wearing it. I've worn it with the Charlotte Tilbury Flawless Finish Powder. This one's really pretty. And I've also been really enjoying it with the Jeffree Star setting powder, like just kind of dusting it over top of it once I get the rest of my makeup on. Those have been the only ones that I've tried so far. Even though it's looking kind of healthy, it has set down. Maybe it's a little bit tacky. Okay, so it is currently 9:21. So I'm gonna go ahead and apply the rest of my makeup, and then I'll come back and do like a midday quick check-in, probably maybe like the 6-7 hour mark. So I will see you guys in my first check-in. I'm back for a midday check-in. It is currently 3:30. So I've officially had it on for 6 hours. We're about the halfway mark for a 12-hour wear, and I am ready to kind of give you guys my opinion on this. I'm going to move my hair out of the way. I think it looks amazing. Even though I got a little bit carried away with blush today, I'm definitely way too blushy. So even though I went in a little bit too heavy with my blush and bronzer today, I don't know why, I'm trying to not be so heavy-handed, but then sometimes my hand just slips and then I just start packing it on. So it's a little bit heavy-handed today, I know. But this looks amazing. This looks so flawless, and I love the way that it looks over my pores. I love how it's just so natural. I think, you guys, that is probably the #1 thing that I like about this foundation. So let's go ahead and do a transfer test just to see if it will transfer on the paper towel now that I have set it down. Okay, so there's where I just pressed. So when I first put it on, you know, like 10 minutes later, it did transfer a little bit. But now that I've set it with some setting powder and stuff like that, it's not transferring. So this does kind of set down. It's not tacky. I feel hydrated, but not tacky, if that makes sense. So I'm not greasy. I don't feel greasy. I don't look greasy. And let me just say this. I have gotten so many compliments of my foundation. You know, I had tons of compliments at the grocery store the other day from a couple of friends that I ran into. I don't have anything negative to say about it. I really don't. Okay, so again, this is 6 hours in. Now, I kind of flubbed up my bronzer or blush right there. I'm not exactly sure what I did. Just ignore that, like, that little spot right there. I don't know what I did. I think this foundation looks amazing. And, you know, I did want to tell you, I put on the Charlotte Tilbury, this is the Airbrush Flawless Finish over top of it. Now, I have worn this one day without powdering it, and I kind of felt like it was a little bit too slippy. So wearing a tiny bit of setting powder over top of this just makes it like perfect. Okay, so let's turn off the ring light. So this is in more natural lighting, and I just feel like my skin looks really hydrated and refreshed, and just, it's a nice foundation. I do feel like it's a tad bit too dark for me, but I do think that it'll be better once I start getting out into the sun. Like I said, I do kind of feel like there's gaps. Like, I don't know, there's definite gaps in the shade range. I really do not recommend buying this online unless you're okay with the hassle of taking stuff back and sending stuff back, because I kind of feel like this is going to be a foundation that's going to be kind of a little bit more on the difficult side to find your perfect shade. So that's it for this check-in. I'm going to go ahead and jump off of here, and I don't think I'll come back tonight. I think I'll just come back Thursday night for like a 12-hour check-in and give you guys my final thoughts then. So I will see you guys then. Okay everyone, I'm back to give you guys my full final thoughts on this foundation. So it is 11:30 on Thursday night, so I've officially been wearing this definitely for probably 14 hours today. Let me go ahead and pull you guys in so you guys can see what this is looking like that many hours later, and then I'll give you guys my final thoughts. As you can see, I've lost quite a bit of coverage. This foundation, in my opinion, has not been that long wearing. I think the most I've been able to get out of this is like a good decent wear is probably 8 to 10 hours. As you can see, you know, my hyperpigmentation has really came out through here. But the thing that I will say about this is that the foundation does wear off very naturally. If my foundation is not going to last for 12 hours, as long as it wears off naturally, I'm totally fine with that. Okay, let's turn off the ring light. Okay, so this is what it looks like without the ring light on. Again, these are just 2 umbrella lights and just more natural lighting. And I feel like it still looks pretty healthy for the most part. I feel like it still looks, you know, I've definitely lost a lot of coverage, which is definitely kind of a bummer. I'm cold, so I got my big puffy jacket on. It's one of my favorites. I love this thing so much. It's so comfy. I love it. Let me get into my final thoughts about this. I like this foundation, you guys. I love how natural it is, and I love how it really makes my skin look very hydrated and very healthy. And I don't know that it's worth the $87. So once I found out that it was cheaper than the Hourglass, I kind of had a better feeling about the price, but I feel like it's still really overpriced. And even though I really like the way it looks, I have just been loving this from Lancome. This is the UV Expert Mineral CC Cream. I've been wearing this like non-stop since I reviewed it. Every time I was in between reviewing foundations, I was putting this on. I wore it the entire time during Easter weekend. The difference between this and this is this one sets down, this one's greasy. So when you put this one on, it's greasy, and once you set it, it's not as greasy, but you still have a nice shine. This one's not greasy. I definitely don't feel like this is for people with oily or combination skin. I just don't even think you should even bother with this one. But I think if you have really dry skin, or you have normal skin and you like that healthy, radiant, creamy foundation that sets down, because this can be a little bit tacky, you know, 5, 10, 15, 20 minutes later after you apply it. But once you put powder on, it stays. Like it's not like it's gonna transfer all over the place. If this foundation was like $50, I would say, oh my gosh, this is a good foundation. You know, it looks good, it looks radiant, it feels good, it doesn't make me feel dry by the end of the night, even though it's still set down. I don't maintain coverage, which was kind of a bummer, and I don't feel like you can apply it with a sponge. Truthfully, you guys, applying it with like a wispy brush like this, in my opinion, is the best way to apply this foundation. If you like luxury foundations and you're okay with spending the price and splurging, I think you're gonna like this. The pros, in my opinion, are very buildable coverage. So if you're somebody that likes like a sheer coverage, you can totally have just like a few, you know, apply a few stripes, blend it out, and you have a nice sheer light coverage. And it looks so skin-like. Like I've said throughout the entire video, in my opinion, out of all the foundations that I've worn, these two, these 3 are the most skin-like foundations I have in my collection. This is the Lancome Skin Feels Good. It's still one of my all-time like top favorite foundation. And then this one is the newest one. The bummer about this is it only has 5 shades. This one I think only has like 12. It's ridiculous, you guys. But you know, this one does have 29 shades, but so skin-like. More skin-like than any foundations. If you need a full coverage foundation, this is not going to be the one you're going to want. There's tons of foundations out there that are very natural, but much cheaper, and this one you're going to have to build and use quite a bit of it to build it to a full, and I just don't know at the end of the day if that's cost efficient, because you're just going to be going through it too quickly. Now if you had this one on hand and you really didn't like this one alone, this one might be a good one to build up coverage, because this one definitely has more coverage. than this one does. So you could use this one to build up coverage and then put this over top of it and still give you that radiance to it and that healthy glow. So that's always an option as well. This applies and wears somewhat like a cushion foundation, where it just melts, you guys, like melts like no other foundation. So I would say these three are kind of the best melt into your skin type foundations. This is a type of foundation if you want to splurge, if you have dry normal skin, you like a radiant foundation, you're okay with 8 to 10 hours tops of a wearing time, and you like a sheer to buildable medium, almost full coverage. I don't think you can really get full coverage out of this. The one time that I applied it on camera in my right shade, I used quite a bit of it to really see how far I could build it. And you could see in that footage that I built it quite well, and I pretty much built it to almost a full coverage situation, but I don't say that it lasted any longer than when I built it to a medium coverage. There are some gaps in between the shade. Like I said, I don't really like that part about it because there's a big difference between 7 and 7.7. So as you've seen in the first application, 7 was really light, and then 7.7 is almost too dark for me, but fortunately I will be out in the sun soon, so this will really match me good in the next month. When I chose the shade 7 Tawny, I actually used the shade finder on the Sephora website or the Sephora app. And the way that I did it is typically I like to choose 5 of my foundations. Whatever shade pulls up the most, that's the shade I go for. So 3 out of the 5 foundations that I entered into the shade finder, they all recommended 7 as like the perfect match, but it was just too light for me, especially with summer coming. I probably could have pulled it off, but I'm the type of person that I would rather have my foundation a tad bit too dark than a tad bit too light. And that's just me personally. Like I said, you know, if you take the price out of it and you take the fact that it's not for every skin type, I would probably give this like a 5 out of a 5 because it is a beautiful foundation and I've really enjoyed wearing it. I've loved the way my skin looks when I'm wearing it. I love the way it looks through the camera. I think it looks absolutely beautiful through the camera, even though it's a tad bit too dark for me. But once I put concealer on, it kind of lightens up a little bit. But I like this foundation. I think it's beautiful, but I do kind of feel like it's overpriced. I do feel like there is a con also in the fact that it doesn't last for 12 hours, because I do have some foundations in my collection that does last me 12 hours. You know, I'm just here to kind of give you guys all of the information and my thoughts on it, how it looks, you know, with and without, all these different things. I also want to mention, I wore this with several different primers. So I wore this with the Bobbi Brown Vitamin Rich Face Base. I also wore it with the Milk Hydro Pro Grip Primer, or the Hydro Grip Primer, and I really enjoy it with the Hydro Grip Primer, and I actually got this to last longer by using this. If you really want this foundation, you want to make it last longer, I recommend it with a grip primer. Now, I don't prefer the gripping primer from Cover FX. I like it, but it's hella gripping, you guys. This one from Milk Makeup actually gives me just a tiny bit more hydration than this one does. So I prefer this one. That's it for my review. Thank you guys so much for hanging out with me today. I hope you guys enjoyed this video. If you did, please give it a thumbs up. Thank you guys again for all the love that you guys show me and my channel. It absolutely means the world to me. And I hope you guys have a wonderful weekend filled with love and happiness. I love you guys so much, and I will see you guys in my next video. Love you. Bye.